Hello, everybody. It is another Testimony Tuesday, and y'all know I bring y'all the creme de la creme, the best of the best. And today I have another fabulous banger for y'all. Y'all see this handsome fellow sitting next to me. Y'all know this is only my second fella. Y'all know most of the time I get ladies on this show. So, ladies, you see him over here looking a little sexy. Don't be looking at my boy Dylan like that. I just need y'all not to look at him like that. He a little fine, and he a man of God. So don't start. Don't start. All right, I want to tell you guys about Dylan Hickey. Listen, first off, he's coming to us from across the water. He's not even in the United States, so y'all ladies have to travel to even get to this man, first of all. But his testimony is outstanding. Y'all not ready. Y'all not ready, and we're only giving you a smidgen today. So stay tuned because there's more to come. All right, Remnant Road Warriors, y'all know that this is another Testimony Tuesday, and I am always bringing y'all the best of the best. And so without further ado, Dylan, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. We've been talking about, how long have we been talking about this? Let's talk about, before we talk about your testimony, I want to tell my audience how we actually met. Go ahead. No, you go.
Okay, well, we met on an online ministry, right? Above Reproach. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
The daily prayers. Is that right?
Daily prayers and Bible study. Yep, it's on a Discord server, and he met Eli, co-host of ET Speaks, y'all. So y'all know. And Dylan got to talking to Elijah, and Elijah is going to get the story. And when they started talking, he pulled me into it because I'm Captain Documentary, and so one thing led to another, and here we are. Understand that this man has books, movies, it's all in here. This story is not your average story. And y'all know, I just gave y'all a banger. If any of y'all saw Blake's story, if you haven't seen it, go over to the YouTube page and get on that Blake. If anybody hasn't seen it, y'all get y'all mind blown. This is another one of those type of stories. Dylan's story is not to be believed by the faint of heart. But what we're going to do today, we're going to touch on the good highlights today, and then we're going to come back and give y'all some more meat and gravy at some point. So don't sleep. Dylan, let y'all know that this is not the last time y'all going to see my boy Dylan. This is not the last time. All right, Dylan, you ready for these questions?
I'm ready.
Okay, so basic question. Who are you and what do you do? You could take as long or as short to answer this as you want.
Right now, I have come to the realization that I'm just a vessel here to serve God, and I'm trying my best, and that's what I am right now. And I'm learning every day, and what I'm doing is trying to find what the Lord wants me to do. But in my work life, I manage my own life, which is a person with, I had a spinal cord injury, as you'll find out in my story, how this happened. And I have to manage life in this way. So it takes a lot of managing the people that help me and managing the funds that I use to care. And then I also do some technology, some app creation, right? And app development. I do some of that, and I'm in school. I'm in a university taking a course to just improve my knowledge of some things. But I right now I'm being drawn more and more to do this kind of work and to testify, and that's what I want to do. So I want to put my life into that. So I'm honestly a little bit conflicted about the school and actually wanting to drop out, even though I'm doing really well, just because it doesn't give me the passion that I want for and I see the world, and I worry about my daughter, and I worry about my own, my own influence on the events taking place, and whether or not I can make a difference, and whether or not this is what God wants me to do. But I'm continuing with the class because I'm learning so much about things and business and things like that. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm reading a lot of scripture every day. I'm watching testimonies like the one you just posted today, which was, I'm still going through it, but that man has really, faced the music and been through it, and he's got a lot of souls to rescue now. I just dropped something. And I also am on that journey as well. I hope and I pray that.
Well, you know what, Dylan? I think that sometimes we get lost in the sauce and we forget that we have a purpose. And so because we have a purpose, like God didn't just put us here like lumps on a log. We have actual purpose. And because we have actual purpose, it's like we have to be mindful that, okay, God, are we in our purpose? Like, are we doing what we're supposed to do? And so I think, especially since I do know a lot of your story, and so we got the opportunity to talk about it. And like I said, my mind was blown when I heard it. And my audience, seeing you here and understanding how much of a simple, like you're just a regular guy, but knowing where you came from, it's like, it's amazing. And so rolling that question into the next one, because you kind of touched on it, but I want to get more in depth into what you touched on previously. And the question number 2 is, what's one challenge you faced that God turned around?
Okay, well, that's an easy one for me to answer. It's complicated, and there's a lot of that I'm still unpacking, that I'm learning, that God is teaching me. If I'm ready to learn, and I am ready to learn. So a few years ago, I had been in a wheelchair since 1986, believe it or not. I fall from a tree. I'll get into that story later, but I had ended up adapting to life as this person with a spinal cord injury for many years, for up to 40 some years. And in that state of living, there's a lot of things that you don't have that you used to have. I mean, as a 16-year-old, I was very athletic and just active. And
pause a second. You said as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
So you hurt yourself at the age of 16?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I was 16.
Keep going.
Yeah. And hello?
I'm here.
Okay, let me just give my phone a command so it doesn't disconnect us.
Okay.
Go to sleep. Okay. It just performed a function. I thought we disconnected. Okay, I'm here. I have it on voice control and voice command. That's the app that I'm working on, I'm working on have to do with voice control. So, to correct some of the issues, there's a lot of issues with the current voice control. Anyhow, back to the story. I was going along, and I didn't have it. It took away my sensation from my body. It took away the sensation from probably 75% of my body below my chest, right? And I went along living like that. Of course, I missed running around. I missed I missed a lot of things. I missed having, the ability to use my body. I missed walking. And there's a lot to the story that we'll unpack later. But I chased after a lot of things, and I lived pretty much with the idea that, I was not going to pursue anything seriously. Unless it really was fun for me. But in the most part, because in Canada here, I'm living in Vancouver, and also while I was living in the States, because I have a dual citizenship, U.S. and Canada, and I was living in Florida for a long time in Gainesville. I was living in Gainesville, Florida, but not far from where you are. And I lived there for a good while, like at least 8 years. And before that, I was in Pennsylvania for a long time. So when I was in Florida, I was going to school there, and then I came back to it kind of didn't work out. I was in university at Florida, right outside. There's a smaller college university called Santa Fe. Santa Fe. I was attending there. And I was planning to go to University of Florida, and my health, I was struggling to meet the challenge. My grades were good, but I was doing drugs, not street drugs. They were prescription, but they were for pain, and I had sores on my body from just lack of nutrition and just pushing around the clock, staying up late, and my grades were great. But I ended up having like just a seizure, and I ended up in the hospital at Shands there in Florida, and they told me I had to get off. I couldn't continue my school, and I finished really short of completing. I was in my last semester actually, and then I ended up back in Canada. Because of the social network that was here, I knew, because I had lived in Canada before, that what the programs were, and I came to Canada. So I was in Canada, come a few years ago. Let's say when the pandemic thing happened, right? And I was just going along. I was going to the club. I was dancing. I was hanging out with the DJs. I was, making a lot of friends. I was like getting into just worldly life, and I was really, praying to, not praying, but in a way praying to whoever would give me my body back so I could enjoy, right? I had pictures of enjoying my life. Still, I thought, because I'd grown up Hindu, and we'll get into that too, about what it would mean for me to get my body working. I thought that I had the power and I would do it. So I started pursuing, just randomly, chaotically, bringing into my life all kinds of things, like sound vibrations and praying, doing prayers to these different Hindu gods and goddesses and different things, and just trying everything. And and at that time I would have made, I don't know that I consciously made an agreement with an evil force, but I would have. I was that not knowing it was evil. Like, for instance, what I know now from reading the Bible so many times and constantly having it on play is that, the demonic forces, how they operate is not the way that, it's not always like scary and someone coming at you with a sword, doesn't mean demonic. I had in my mind that that's what demonic was, somebody with fangs and looking really scary, like that. Sometimes it comes at you really nice and sweet, Sometimes it comes at you looking exactly what you want, you know what I'm saying? and then before you know it, you've given away everything you have, and really, yeah, that's even more demonic than the one that comes at you with fangs and stuff. At least, if you're tough guy, you're just like, okay, what do you want? But if someone comes at you all sweet and friendly and polite, then you don't really. So I was pursuing all these things that looked really good on the face value, the goddesses and the things and music, different chants and different sound vibrations, anything, subliminals, whatever it was that would get my nervous system working again. And it just, I don't know, I guess I triggered something because I started to get these sensations back in parts of my body that I didn't have before. Okay? But at first I thought they were good. I was like, and I do remember thinking that while I was doing these different chants and things that were on YouTube, by the way, that they were mostly just subliminals about getting power, about gaining power over your body, about gaining power over forces of nature, right? And you didn't even know what they were saying, but you were like, just like, okay, I agree to assume that this person is saying what they claim to be saying, but really I didn't know. So I did know consciously. I thought to myself that I was making an agreement. I could be making a really bad agreement, and I could be paying a huge price. And in my mind, I did think, okay, I'm willing to take the chance that this is going to work out, right? So I did. I did. There was a time when I did make that step, of doing things that really you have no idea what you're getting into, right? Because you are stepping into territory that where you're trusting somebody that really has you have no credentials on this person, you have no validation on this person, you don't know their what their motives are, right? And ultimately, until you know the Bible, you don't know the heart of man. So you're trusting that this, from Hinduism, you're going by another set of parameters, which we'll get into that later. You're going by that, and it's like it's all gray, right? It's all gray. Let's put it that way. Where you can take everything and anything, and it's okay with you. It's okay. So anyway, I was doing that. So I don't know which one of those things that I was doing to get at put me in the situation where I started to get these sensations back, and then they started to turn really ugly, where the pain was just, it started to ramp up, and I started to get the blood pressure. I was getting like almost like mini seizures, like started to increase, and I was full of fear, right? The fear, and there was a lot of factors going on in my life that just kind of spiraled it out of control. Like I was telling you about how the devil appears to you in a sweet way. I had some people in my life at that time that I had let into my life because I was chasing after these kinds of things, and I don't know, they were, they looked really pretty, they dressed really nice, but yeah, I was being used, and everybody was using one another, right? And without even knowing that they were using one another. It's just they're so habituated to that and for me, coming into that circle, I really was not accustomed to that, and I kind of got sucked into that, and it wasn't really at all good for your soul, right? And eventually it caught up to me, and so that was also a factor in what I was going through. Besides the nerve pain and the financial, I gave a lot of money to this situation. It was with a woman particularly, but it was with a whole set of people really, and thinking that it was going to turn out good for me, and it really didn't. It wasn't really in my interest. It's a story for many people. It's not like I'm not saying this is, but it happened to me, and then I was full of just fear and it's like a crisis, I guess you could say. I ended up in the hospital. Just my life was like meaningless at this point, in the sense that I do remember just laying there going, I don't care what happens to me. You guys can do whatever you want. Or I didn't mean it that way, but this is, I don't have any power left to control what's happening now. And somehow I would get through. Each time I would end up back home. I was just beside myself. And I have a staff of caregivers at any given time that are all like really nice people, different backgrounds, different countries, different languages, right? I have a lot of contact with different people from different parts of the world, and one of them is she's from Central America, and she I knew that she was Christian, and she'd been working with me for a long time. She was always the nicest person, just so kind and so gentle and so sweet and so considerate, and just had all these qualities. And then one day she came in, and I was just in pain and crying and really like hardly able to function. And she asked if I would like her to pray for me. And I said, yeah. I didn't even know what that meant, honestly. I had never experienced somebody, like that, praying for you. And then she was just praying, in the name of Jesus, and all fear, and just like she kept, and I didn't know what she was talking about, but I was like, wow, that's really nice, like I was moved, and I felt better afterwards, if nothing else, from somebody that cared so much that they would say all those nice words to me, and want to touch me like that, and want to have such a heart of a pure heart, of love and concern, right? And then so it made me very curious about what was
so your literal turnaround was somebody praying for you in your hour of distress.
I guess, yeah, you could say that. Yeah, you could say that.
And with your background being in Hinduism, and you're calling out to all these gods, and nothing's working, and the fear is just getting greater.
That's right.
And the situation that got turned around. See, and again, your story is so much different, because the questions are not cut and dry. So it's like your turnaround from the Lord was exactly a turnaround. The Bible says one plants, one waters, and God gives the increase. So she planted. Mm-hmm. She planted by praying for you. And so,
that's true.
Man, so then my next question just leads more down the rabbit hole of your story. So the question is, how has faith shaped the way you handle your daily life? And so with that, you didn't even have a faith spectrum at first.
My faith was in the Hindu God.
Right.
If I had any, it was very little, but I knew there was a God. I never let go of knowing that there was a God, and I had prayed to that God so much, and it didn't do anything. So then one day,
when she prayed for you, it changed. It did something here. So
it made me want to read the Bible, but for sure, that's what it did.
So talk about that.
Yeah, it made me want to read the Bible. Really, genuinely wanting to find out what it said. Why it would make somebody be like her, and
so it wasn't your faith that changed it. It was hers. Her faith was what touched you.
Yeah. and yeah, her just who the Bible made her, you know, how it influenced her, and then also I'm Jewish, so I was my mom was Jewish and is Jewish, and she you know, she, you know, used Yiddish words, and you know, and she would uh, have expressions from the stories in the Bible, but she had joined this Hindu cult. So I was curious why she always felt really sad for my grandmother, right? I felt really like she had really done wrong for my grandmother, because I met my grandmother was really she just seemed heartbroken. And it also, what if you when you hear what happened to me, you'll see why she was, and she really didn't understand why my mother joined this and kind of abandoned everything and just kind of treated her like she was nothing, inconsequential, because the Hindu gods, Hindu religion, Hindu whatever cult, wanted her to just like leave it all behind, and so she did. And so I didn't have a lot to do with that, but I was always curious what it was. So I thought, well, I want to find out why do people hate Jews so much? You know, why do they talk about Jesus like what you say his name? And I started noticing that, oh my goodness, people get really riled up when you say Jesus. Why? I wonder why they hate him so much. And you know, and then I read it and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So then I just kept reading and reading and reading and reading. I have it on play every night when I go to sleep. So I've listened to it like several times, just going through different clans and stuff like that, and then watching. You know, I don't have the best like memory but I will. It's a lot of it has to do with pain. You know, right now my body's in a lot of discomfort. I've had to overcome a lot of pain. And that's the one thing I'm smiling and laughing, and I don't know how it happens, because when I was in this situation before, I didn't think it was possible to be handling this like I am. I was a real basket case, you could say. And yeah, I don't remember what the question was, but
no, it was it. I think this interview is going to be more free flowing, and the questions are just more of a base, because your story is so dynamic. Because when you start to talk about, and my last question is, what is your salvation story? But the thing about it is, my audience is going to be like, Tanya, but how do you go? Okay, so your caregiver, she prays for you. You start reading the Bible because you're like, hey man, how did this make her like that?
Yeah.
So what happens next? Like, okay, you start reading the Bible, you're going on her faith.
I loved it. I thought, wow, this is all about, you know, living, you know, some of it scared me, honestly. I was like, whoa, you know, I didn't understand that, and it really hit me like I didn't understand. I was curious. I wanted to know more and more. I just was like doing documentaries on Israel and on different places, and then on history, on archaeology, and I was to verify that Jesus was
a real person.
A real person, yeah, and you know, and the sort of just watching people debate and watching a lot of testimonies, and just I was doing a daily prayer with several different online ministries that were doing these daily prayers in the morning, like healing prayers. I was doing that every single day. That was really good, really helped me a lot. I started just yeah, I started, you could say, becoming a Christian, and I just like leaving behind. And I noticed right away that it was really nice that Christians were all, the caregivers what I had were all really sweet and cared about everything. Looking, oh, Rose, the iPad it fell. Can you get it off my leg? Yeah, they were always so considerate, and they took care of things a little better than necessary. Like they were more conscientious, I guess you could say, to their task. Just
Right.
different things like that really made
Well,
me.
and let me say this really quick in there. It's like, because the Bible says, and now that you are in fact a Christian, you understand, but our work is to be done as if unto the Lord. So when you're doing something not for yourself, but you're doing something for God, then your level of excellence is a lot higher than when you're doing it for self or for money or for personal gain. No, it's not about that. My work is as unto the Lord. So a Christian caregiver is going to take care of you as if they're taking care of Jesus. That's the literal thought process. So when you say that their care for you was greater and higher and more in depth, that's why. Is because they're trying to love on you like Jesus would love on you. So that's a whole different spectrum.
Yeah, it does give a person like an ability to love on someone that they're taking care of, or even a stranger, a lot more than this just a worldly way of just giving you an instruction. This is what you should do. Or in Hinduism, we'll get into that, what that motivation is for you in terms of like taking care of or looking after or being loving.
So for you, your salvation story is a slow progression. You lived for several years as a Hindu, and then you had the injury, and then you continued to live as a Hindu.
Actually, I lived as a secular, but the Hindu was so strong as an influence from childhood that, looking back, being Christian, I have to say that it was strong influence, yes.
And so then you went from that to encountering a strong Christian who prayed for you and was denouncing stuff, and she basically came in doing some serious spiritual warfare and binding up and loosing some things, which gave you really some spiritual freedom, because what she did was she kind of subdued some of those demons, so that then now all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I feel different. What's going on? And so your salvation story is kind of like a turning point where you ran into God, like Paul on the road to Damascus, kind of, sort of. You like, who's this Jesus? Who's this person that you keep praying? You praying over me in this person's name. Why? Who is he? I've heard of him, but who is he for real? So then you started going on the school of discovery to try and figure out, okay, well, who is Jesus? Why is he important? So then from that point of really discovering and studying, when did it click in your head? Like, what was that aha moment of, wait, I think I'm a Christian now?
Well, when you were just talking, it made me realize to a degree that why I was. It took me that long, and I had to look into. I had to continuously.
For me to watch TV, I'm still here. I'm listening.
Okay, it was that you were talking. I recalled how I was, I guess, stubborn, or I had a lot of indoctrinating words in my mind that had come from my Hindu background. Okay, they were just like against Christianity, right? Because they had actually programmed us or given us, words to discourage giving much account to Jesus and to the Bible, right? So, and then when I, like you said, left Hinduism, became more of a scientist, right? I was in university, I was just like, okay, this is all science. This is ridiculous. Religion is nuts. Like, I never actually, I was always really skeptical about the Hindu. It just didn't make sense to me, and nobody ever answered my questions. And when I tell you the stories that I'm going to tell you about I was like, what? Like, you're telling me that? Let me ask a question. No questions. That's how it is, and so that didn't, when I read the Bible, it was a lot more clear because everything made sense. It made sense. This is, people behave like this. This. And then when I started checking it out and it was a real story, so I really wanted to know if it was real, because in Hinduism, I was, I had been told it was real, and I knew that I believed certain things that didn't make any sense, but I was trying to not believe that I would encounter those in my skepticism. I was like, no, Jesus, no, well, he can't, he couldn't have been God, he couldn't, and so I did have a lot of, but I wanted to, not only did I want to, if he was telling the truth in my mind, then I had to. So I kept having to verify that. Is he telling the truth? And then every time I would come back, oh, it seems like he's telling the truth. A little bit more, okay, I'm going to have to accept that he's telling that this is the truth. This is the truth. A guy like this wouldn't lie. This doesn't make sense that a guy like this would lie. And, so I just became more and more clear on, that it was the truth. And then that put my mind at ease, because I was like, well, I don't have to be afraid of anything in that case. I just have to, tie my wagon to the right, the right place. And I just started doing my best to. It hasn't, I say I'm a failure, because. I'm not speaking to Jesus yet, and I wish I was like actually directly one-to-one. But I do see the Lord's hand in my life. I was able to, with His grace, to pull out from a pretty dark place where I was at that place with her in that prayer moment, which was just. Yeah, I was in the hospital multiple times a week, at the emergency room. I was really not in a good way. I was not eating anything. I had pressure sores on my body. I was just full of fear a lot of the times. My medications were out of control. There were a lot of things like that. Financially, I was not doing well, and now it's the opposite. Everything around me is wonderful, and the people I have in my life are amazing. My caregivers are all and it just turned around slowly. Everything started to fall into place. I received input in the right direction to make the right choices. So I don't want to get into all the details now, because the answer you did say we had as much time as it went on. So is it okay if I don't? I'm just rambling in some ways, but I'm trying to keep it short, which is that I yeah, I was stood to lose my right to manage the funds that I used to hire the people. So that would have put me at the mercy of the province, and then I wouldn't be able to do anything on my own that I want to do. My schedule wouldn't be my own, and so on. They give a good provision here for me to be able to manage my life if I show that I can manage the money. So I had not managed it well, and they were doing an assessment. I was way over budget. I was, the funds were, I don't know how I was managing, and they did an assessment on me, and I should have lost. Somehow they rolled, and they increased my funds by a good amount. So then that bridge hurdle was covered, and thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. And then it was just one step after another, and just, like you said, it was a slow climb. But I'm here now.
It was like your progression into being a disciple is just like Blake's was sudden. Like he went from God hit him in the head, bink. Yours is just like this gentle. Jesus just kind of led you gently into his arms. Like it wasn't like this pow. It was more like, okay, no, over here. No, come on, Dylan, over here.
Yeah.
And literally from a cult, which we will not get into tonight. When we get into the depth of that story, because y'all don't know. See, I'm sitting here talking to this man. Y'all don't understand. His story is just about as mind-blowing as Blake's, if not more. And this is what the things that people don't realize, the darkness that's out there. And something I want to go back to that you said. You said Satan doesn't always come to us as a monster with fangs. He comes beautiful and sweet and loving, and he comes in disguise. So it's like, in all of that to get here, you literally had to the Lord just held his hand out to you and led you into his truth, and led you into his arms. Amen. And led you into his grace. You didn't get hit over the head. You didn't get pushed. And I think the reason why is because with the cult, that was hit over the head. That was pushed and forced. And that was just like crazy. So he couldn't do you the way that they did you, because you wouldn't have been able to handle it. He had to gently, come on, Dylan. No, I'm right here. Come on. No, I'm the Father. I love you. Come on. And it was like literally he coaxed you into salvation. So tell me, was there ever a point where you prayed the prayer of confession? Was there ever this place where you said, okay, you know what, Lord, I like, did you get the sinner's prayer deal? Did you just wake up one morning and go, dang, I think I'm a Christian because I believe everything that, how did that, tell me that part of the story.
There's something about Jesus that really, appealed to me, right from just the character. Before I realized I was accepting that the story was true, there was something very, very appealing about who who he was this was representing, meaning standing up to like corruption and authority and things like that. So I was very much I felt an empathy with Jesus in that way. Like even if he wasn't who he claimed to be, even though he was such a person of integrity and righteousness that you can't imagine him lying. So for a while I was like, well, was he crazy? Like, I'm trying to make sense of the story, like my intellectual mind was fighting against me, right? And all the time, right? Because I'm like, I really like had developed this opinion that religion was crap,
Right.
that it was all a bunch of wrong lies. And so then here's this character that's so like stands for what I feel empathy for, but then he's lying or he's making up a story or what, he's saying. How does that doesn't go together with his character, right? It doesn't match his character. So whether someone made up the story, why would they make up the story, blah 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 blah, going on and on about his followers. And but I wanted to just cross that bridge where I was like, I want that experience, where I just have Jesus coming into my life and just show up, and just like heal my body. I'm praying for healing repeatedly. And I don't know. I don't know whether I watch a lot of Andrew Womack. I watch.
Me too.
Yeah. And so the message that all of his healing ministries teaching, and that it's already been done, and you don't, and you are the Lord only wants good for you, right? Wants you well. So I'm trying to believe that, and I'm accepting it as true, and so yeah, I have to say that when they did that to Charlie Kirk, that really, it just gave me like a righteous feeling that God is real. This is a real spiritual warfare. This is why else would they kill him? It makes no sense. And then I already, I was so much on the other side of things before that the liberal mindset, I guess you could say, that I really, to each their own, and whatever floats your boat. But then when I started to listen to what Jesus was saying, I didn't want to accept it at first because it meant, it meant a lot of things, right? And I wanted to just, but then again, I did believe in God. So I was like, the Hindu God was really, I'll get into that when we get into the story, but just really not believable to me. It didn't make any sense, either chemically or scientifically, or in terms of like the way he felt, or the way when I really started to pray in earnest all the time, I felt so good. Sometimes I would cry. Sometimes I would have moments where I did feel the presence of God. But afterwards, I'd be back to dealing with the pain. So I was like, really, was that real or not? I can't even hardly remember it now. I'm back in struggle. So I don't even know if that. I don't even remember what happened hardly. I remember that it was really nice and it was beautiful and it felt amazing, but I don't remember what happened exactly. And so I would just be. But like you said, it's been a slow revelation, and now I don't know what he's doing with me, but I'm just here for the adventure, because I know that he'll lately I where I should be getting like less inspiration and my brain should be getting more more worn down from these medications and stuff like that, I've been having like my mind is getting more thinking quicker and like, I'm writing apps now. I never thought I would do that, and never even knew that I thought I would just watch TV and just do nothing and just listen to music. I love music, and I've always been I had huge music collection and listened to all types of music. And also I grew up playing drums, the Indian drums, they had tabla and all these drums in India that I really that was my escape from the cult since I was 4. I've been banging on those drums that they play in India, lots of different drums that they play there. And so that was a big thing. I lost that when I broke I'll tell you about the neck injury, how that impacted me, and it'll make a lot more sense when I give you the backstory about how I was formed by what took place, by the behavior of the people around me and my parents and the Hindu ideas, the way that so that had a large impact on me. And I think that's why the Lord, like you said, and perhaps I think this telling this story with you I hope it reaches some of the people that are still there. In fact, I'll share it so with them, and I'll be happy to share it with them, that people that grew up, like many kids that were just put through this kind of strange experiment, I guess, that we were all put through. And kids from all background. When I was in this school in India, when I was a kid, I went to this school in India for a number of years. There were like, I don't know, hundreds of kids there, and they were from so many different countries, from Canada, U.S., Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil, Peru, and then in Europe they were from Germany. This was in the 80s too. They were from Bulgaria, Russia. There were kids from Nepal, all there, right, in this one place, and Indian kids, and what was the strange, and the teachers. Anyway, it was a big mixture of us kids that were brought together for this experiment to turn us into these. And I believe that it was the beginning of like a bit of the erosion of the United States and Canada, and the health of the whatever Christianity. It was an intentional undermining of Christianity, because I've gone back in my research, because for such a thing like a documentary or a movie or a series, and I've saved all of this. I went through their magazines that they have published on the internet, and there's articles, lots. I didn't realize it, but there's a bunch of articles specifically targeting Christianity and trying to undermine people's faith, and turn them toward. And that's partially the indoctrination that I had to fight, and is partially what you're seeing on the street. And this Hindu influence on society is pretty strong.
You know what? When you say that, I have noticed that, and I thought it was me, but Hinduism is interwoven into a lot of things.
It's trying to, yes.
And I didn't even with things like, and I guess I can't mention it, but I'll say it this way: like the coffee company, the logo for the coffee company, that's a Hindu god. But it's everywhere. Different fashion labels, very big fashion labels, they're using Hindu imagery. And so now that you say that, that actually is a noticeable thing that I never paid attention to before. I know the undermining of Christianity has been there, but the concept of the fact that the Hinduism is being woven in, I never paid it attention until you're saying it right now. And then I realized, oh, wait, no, he's not wrong. It's everywhere.
No, it's an intentional thing. They feel that that they're here to supplant Christianity, and what with, they don't even know. It's like it's just oh, this God is real, but it's like, that's the thing. I want to get to the point where and I am at that point now. Well, I will defend Christianity with a very strong voice, especially because, but I want to be able to argue, not argue, but debate with a Hindu, especially the westernized ones, and I don't want to debate with them, but I want to be able to withstand their, in myself, my own, not that I doubt, but that those voices of I guess you could say they're like the demons, like that try to come up against you for believing in Jesus, that they'll come at you with the old words from the Hindu text, which makes no sense, and it doesn't. I'm giving it a little bit more. I don't have any more. It's not like I feel this way anymore, but this is the process that I went through, and now it's pretty much that I want to feel like so
like
capable.
You know enough, like you know enough.
Yeah. Like I can withstand any. Now I can, based on my testimony, I can.
But you're what I like to call an intellectual Christian, because you came to faith not through some super duper miraculous moment. You came to faith through the logical process of Christianity is real because it has historical backing. It makes sense. Even the miracles make sense. And so it's just like you came to Christianity through the intellectual means. God showed you, no, look at this historical fact, and look at this, and look at this, and look at this. And then here's these prayers, and feel how this makes you feel. And then look at this, and look at this. And so you came, and this is a route like, I want to say Hal Lindsey. I think it's Hal Lindsey that did the Case for Christ. I believe that was who. So that's kind of your story too. Like, you came through the educational means of God showed up for you in prayer, and then you went on a journey to discover who is this Jesus? Who is Jesus?
Yeah.
And so in discovering who Jesus was, that's what developed your belief.
Yes, and I do. I follow a lot of really bright scientists who are Christians, and I listen to them a lot about chemistry and engineering and things like that, and they and history and biology about that, because I want to be able to hang in the circles that we, like this app that I'm developing. I honestly believe that it will revolutionize the way that people communicate with their technology. And even the fact that I'm saying that to you and I'm talking to you, or with each other, you won't have any mistakes when you text with voice anymore, and you can whisper to your any device, and it will be no music around, people talking. It will only pay attention to your voice. So
So you're making an AI advancement. That's an AI.
No, it's not. It's just a novel solution to a difficult problem. It does involve AI, but it doesn't primarily rely on that. It just relies on putting some processing power toward toward paying attention. It's mainly for accessibility for people that like myself that can't touch their phones, or elderly people that speak, or people that speak funny, or that people with different accents and different. It's more of a way of
Functional.
it's more of the way the computer, the phone processes the speech, so that it right now they've moved toward completely the younger crowd. All the program is toward younger generation, like making things really flashy and colorful and graphic, but that's been at the expense of the people with disabilities using the devices. So I don't know, God just put this on me to make this, to discover that this wasn't taken care of, and if He does that with me, then I'm starting a company now to produce this thing, and I don't even know anything. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just putting one foot in front of the other and doing my best. I mean, I do know a little bit about what I'm doing, but not very much. Honestly, I don't.
But you're being led, but that's how you know it's not your project.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's God's project, because you're like, okay, Lord, what we doing? You're like, I have no idea what is going on. I just know this is what God is leading me to do. And He's
the business aspect
guiding
of it is so new to me, and starting a business. And when we were raised with Hinduism, we were taught to just live like poor, and that people that were rich were like this communist way of thinking. We were taught that, and wasn't taught that it was communism, but we were taught that you're supposed to be.
So it sounds like Hinduism has a lot of socialism and
it
Marxist
does.
ideologies built into it.
It does. It has a lot of the ideology that if you're rich or wealthy, that's because of your karma, and the person that's poor and or sick or whatever, that's because they did something and they deserve it. So you're just like they should thank you for doing.
So let me ask you a question, and I didn't mean to cut you off. So when you hurt yourself, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask you a couple of more questions, and then we're gonna wrap this episode up. Mm-hmm. And then what we're gonna do is you're gonna come back and we're gonna do this again. Because what I want to do is I just want you to flat tell your story from beginning to end.
Okay.
Because your story is so impactful, and I don't want to give the folks too much in these little bits and pieces. I need them to get this whole story. And so I'm just gonna literally, y'all, when I unleash him on this story, y'all listen now. Y'all listen. Dylan be back. I got 2 more good questions for Dylan, and then I'm gonna bring Dylan back for another episode, because his story can be compacted into an hour 45 minutes. So I'm just going to set him up in front of this camera and just let him talk, and he gonna tell his story from beginning to end, from his mom leaving her Jewish upbringing to walk head first into this Hindu cult and taking her kid with her. And so we have to unpack that, and we're not going to be able to do it in this little space, because I heard the story and I sat like this, y'all. Listen, for y'all that's listening on the radio, y'all can't see my mouth open. For everybody looking on YouTube, I sat like this the whole time with my mouth open, listening to this man's story, because I'm like, are you serious right now? So and I don't know, the Lord keeps bringing me these amazing off the top stories. Like I'm not getting regular stuff, which I asked for this. I can't even lie. My prayer was I wanted to be like Sid Roth. I want to be like my boy Taylor Welch on The Deep End. I want God to bring me the absolutely most craziest, most supernatural, most amazing stories ever for me to tell, because that was my dream, was to tell the stories that don't get told. Who was it? I can't think of this man's name, and my husband loves him. But he said the revolution will not be televised. For me, I want to televise the revolution. I want to televise the revival. Gil Scott Heron. I want to tell the story. That's my dream. So this is my dream space. And so for you, Dylan, I'm going to ask you two more really pertinent questions, because you're starting to get into some conspiracy stuff. Woo! It's going to get heavier before it gets lighter. I'm just going to tell y'all. But what I want to ask you is, if you could say anything to the people, to the audience, what's one important thing that you would say to encourage my Remnant Road Warrior audience on their journey for looking for Christ? What would you say to them?
If you are looking for happiness and love and security from the society, from the world, then it's going to be a dead end, because how can I put it any better than the Bible does? And I won't try to, because I would just say that you should listen to the Bible and find out that Jesus, not only was he a real character and a real person, but that he's here with us now, and that he's acting all around us. And what you have to do is look and find out where he acted in your life to be thankful for. Because if you don't want to just get into a life of complaining, which is what will happen to you if you don't have courage and you don't confront the problems that you have, then you need to find Jesus, because ultimately you can't do it on your own, and the other people around you are also struggling with their own challenges. And if you find that you're unable to make it, then it's on your own. If you find that you're the things that you've aspired to, the things that you've chased after, ultimately will be you'll just be faced with a I don't know how to say it. You're not going to have many options. You're not going to have any options. You're going to end up like I was, and just in a really it may be pleasurable for a while. It probably will be, but then it's going to be really sour, and there's not going to be any way to recover from it unless Jesus finds you, because ultimately Jesus found me, and I was just lucky that I was just blessed that he put the right person in my life at the right time, and that he touched me, because I'm when it comes to the Lord, when it comes to God, I'm very real, but I don't like to share it with other people, before in the past. So even when I was Hindu, I would be praying to God, the Hindu God that didn't answer me, but it was always like, I have a special thing with God. I have a special thing with God. And then when I realized I'm not really talking to God yet, although God hears me, because he knows that I wishes it was him. Now, now that I found who God really is, then, I can do this. I can carry on the same things, but I feel kind of new at this. I have to learn learn more clearly what He wants from me, and it mentions there's a lot of things that parallel. Hinduism sort of borrows from Christianity in terms of words, but then when it actually comes in substance, it turns into a lie. It turns into a lie, and the thing that separates Jesus and what He teaches from the imposters is that it's not a lie. He doesn't lie. That's the thing. He doesn't lie. He never a day in his life lived in any way that was other than completely truthful, and you can't find that with Hinduism or with any of the other religions. And then with modern science, you're going to find that you don't really know. There's too many questions and not nearly enough answers.
So the scripture that you alluded to was sin is pleasurable for a season. And so it's going to feel good when it starts. But then when the consequences hit, now you're trying to figure out, oh, wait, this was fun at first. But sin is only pleasurable for a little while.
I recorded a testimony today that I have not published, that I was just given to make, and it had to do with a lot of with what we're talking about. The youth today, it's because I turned on a podcast, and it was from CBC Radio. And I don't listen to podcasts, but it just popped up when I said a number, because like my phone and devices respond to numbers because that's how it's set up. And I said a number, and the app popped up, and I was like, oh, and I clicked on some of the radio. I wanted to hear what the young people were listening to now, because since that happened to me, I was so into music. I was going to the clubs, like I was saying. I just stopped. I tuned it all out. I said, well, if some of it's weird, because that's how I felt. Some of that subliminals had affected me. So I just said, all this stuff is suspicious. So I stopped listening to any kind of rock or music or electronic music, any kind. I listened to all kinds of music. I just stopped. Not radio, TV too. I stopped paying for my TV. I completely turned I was watching I had every NFL team. I knew them. I watched, college football in the States. I just stopped all of it at that time, because it became less interesting to me. I realized how unimportant it was. Like, I was going to die. I was like, what does it matter? It didn't matter. None of it mattered anymore. So yeah, it can be very real. Like, I was going to say that the number one, this whole podcast was about the number one song in, there's a genre of music, heavy metal, like metal music. Yeah, the number one song in there is some song called The Ghost or something like that. And it's all about the devil. And it's all about this guy speaking to the devil about, it's just horrible. The lyrics and the host, I recorded the podcast on the video that I'm going to post, and then my reaction to it. But it was about, it's the Swedish band, and it was all about, it's just such a gross series of lies about pleasure at all costs. If you're this young generation seeking pleasure, and that's all they're seeking, Well, I'll tell you what, you put off decision making, and you put off learning, and it was all about how sacrifice is a notion that, is a notion for the past. It's not a notion that I say, it's not a notion that we're to adopt. The world is against us, so we can do whatever we want.
Wow.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible, and it was about how, I was making a point how this kind of thinking would just leave you it would serve you well in your youth, but then when you got older, and you couldn't have that pleasure anymore, then you wouldn't know. You'd have no preparation. You wouldn't know anything about anything. You wasted your youth. So, and sacrificing what? If you're a family member and your neighbor, the Bible teaches all about helping your neighbor, taking care of your children. If that's where it comes in, and if you can't do that, you're not going to be anywhere when you get older. You're not going to have anything to enjoy. Nobody's going to respect you. It's all about pleasure. Is that what you think? That was is that what you think, really?
And that's really where the world is going.
Yeah.
It's do what you want. Do as thy wilt. And that's where
that works while you're young. Yeah. For a short time. Yeah. And they're facilitating people, telling them that's fine. That's how they should live, and not worry about it. We'll take care of it. And then we'll just give you your food. Yeah. We'll give you your stuff, but you have no freedom. You've not made your choices for yourself. So yeah, this horrible song that's #1 on the metal chart. You can check it out yourself. Horrible song about the devil, about talking to the devil. Something about putting Mary on a cross, and then if you run away, then the devil's talking to you, and he's telling you that he's going to make you suffer forever if you can't stand there and look at it. It's just a horrible song.
There's so much out there that's just so amazingly bad.
Yeah.
If my audience wanted to reach you, like if they wanted to, because you talked about you were getting ready to post, where are you at with your social media? Like where are you at? Like,
I don't have a huge social media presence because I'm still trying to, the Lord's making me more confident with doing things like this and talking about things, and my faith in God is growing every day. So, I do a YouTube, but I don't post a lot, but I'm trying to post more. I have a TikTok too, which also I don't really post much, but it's there. It's in my name. I still have my Hindu name. When I went to the States, I changed it to Dylan because people just couldn't say Nirmala in Florida. Nirmal, what? What did you say? So yeah.
So what? Oh, don't make me laugh, Dylan. So if they wanted to look you up on YouTube or TikTok, what are they looking for?
On YouTube, it's Nirmala Hickey or Dylan Hickey. I think it would bring me up. Nirmala Hickey, if you want to get specific, because I doubt there's another one of those.
Spell it.
NIRMALAHICKEY.
All right, y'all. It'll come on the screen for all of y'all that's going, what? It's going to come across the screen so you guys can see it, so you can look him up. And is that on YouTube and TikTok?
Yeah. On TikTok, it's I think it's Dylan, but still it has my email address, which is Nirmala. Because here in Canada, it's my legal name, so I have to basically use it on all my if I get, it mixes up when I do business, and then they look up my name, and so I have to use the Indian.
You have to give them your other name, yeah.
Yeah, I have to use my Hindu name, which I was really uncomfortable with for many years. My name is
Nirmala. Look, you come in saying my name is Nirmala, and people are going, "You're a big white guy. Why do you have a name like that?"
Yeah, and there's a lot of Indians here now, and they're like, they think that I'm an Indian person, and then they're like, wait, you don't look Indian.
You're not
No,
Indian, yeah.
I'm not Indian at all. No. So it's been a curse in my life, but now it's a blessing because I'm going to be able to reach, a lot of people that if it could be a blessing, especially to the Hindu folks, take a good look at what I'm involved with a ministry that I have a part in, that's called Supernatural Truth, and they're just like mostly Hindus and Buddhists that are from those religions that have
come to faith.
Come to faith, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them. And there more and more every day. So, and Muslims as well. So
that's amazing.
A lot of Muslims in this
That's
church.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'll share this with them too. They'll be really happy to see this. Yeah.
And we're not done. So for all of y'all that are listening and looking, we are not done. This is just the beginning of Dylan's ascent into this space. This is just episode 1. And so we're going, like I said, I'm going to set him up, and you won't even see my little face on the screen. You just gonna see Dylan, and he's going to talk for however long it takes him to get this out, so that we can tell this story, because it needs to be told. So, and Remnant Road Warriors, y'all know the deal. We go through this every week. Read your proverb. You don't get off the hook just because I'm not reading it to you. And I told y'all I'm not reading it to y'all no more. Y'all got to read your own Bible. The Bible says, work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. So that means what? Today's proverb, y'all need to read it. After you get off of here listening to this, after your mind gets done being blown, because Dylan has dropped every Easter egg that there could possibly be dropped, has gotten dropped during this episode of Testimony Tuesday. But we got another amazing episode in the can, and y'all come back next time to hear some more Dylan. Once I get him back on my schedule, understand, this ain't over. This is the beginning, not the end. My boy Dylan will be back to blow y'all mind some more. So y'all stay tuned. Love, peace, hair grease. Dylan, don't go anywhere because I want to talk to you. I'm out.
Amen.